In 2025, U.S. tourism isn't merely slowing, it's fracturing dramatically. Cities that once welcomed millions like New York, Miami, or Los Angeles are now seeing an unexpected shift in visitor flows. In March, nations that were once key sources of tourists, such as Canada, the UK, and Germany, saw sharp declines in travel to the U.S. Flights were canceled en masse, visa processes stalled, and a quiet wave of hesitation spread across borders. By April, new data painted a surprising picture. Some countries are returning, but with clear caution. Others are pulling back even more decisively. This isn't the recovery people expected. It's a profound divide. In a world once eager to set foot in America, a pressing question emerges. Is the U.S. still a worthwhile destination? In this video, we'll explore the journeys of 7 countries, each taking a distinct path. Some return with caution, others retreat with conviction. These changes are not just numbers, they're stories of trust and how the world perceives America, what's happening, and what lies ahead. What unfolds next could redefine America's place as a global destination for years to come. Let's dive in to see what the world thinks of the U.S. in 2025. Canada has long been a top tourism partner for the U.S., with millions crossing the border yearly to shop, vacation, or visit family. But that familiar flow is unraveling. In March, Canadian travel to the U.S. dropped sharply, and April data shows the trend worsening. According to Statistics Canada, return flights from the U.S. fell nearly 20%, while land crossings plummeted over 35% compared to last year. This isn't a seasonal fluctuation, but a sign of a deeper shift. For many Canadians, avoiding the U.S. isn't just about cost or convenience, it's political. President Trump's threats of new tariffs and controversial remarks about Canada becoming the 51st state have sparked widespread resentment. Travel forums are flooded with boycott calls, with many canceling planned vacations or selling properties in Florida and Arizona. Instead, they're flocking to Mexico. Canadian visits to Mexico rose 15.6% in March, and Airbnb bookings soared 27%. Mexico's tourism secretary noted, "They're choosing friendlier policies." Air Canada is slashing U.S. routes while boosting flights to Cancun and Puerto Vallarta. Once a leader in international travel to the U.S., Canada is now sending a clear message. The pullback isn't just continuing, it's accelerating. Can this neighborly bond be mended, or is this a sign of a lasting divide? On the surface, the UK appears to be returning to the US. In April, visitor numbers rose over 15% year over year, a positive sign after a 21% drop in March. But a closer look reveals an unstable trend with deeper complexities. In March, leisure travel plummeted, but business travel surged 21%. By April, this reversed. Tourist visas jumped 20.7%, while business travel fell 15.2%. This shift isn't just numerical, it reflects a deeper sentiment. UK vacationers may be returning for spring getaways, but business travelers who stay longer, spend more, and signal market confidence are pulling back. According to The Guardian, many UK travelers are anxious about stringent US border controls and political uncertainty. Immigration lawyers advise clients to wipe their phones and social media before traveling, warning that even lawful visitors could be denied entry based on personal views. One civil liberties lawyer stated, "The safest approach is to avoid traveling with any data you wouldn't want the U.S. government to access." While the UK is returning on paper, the tourism relationship remains strained. This caution isn't just a temporary issue, it may signal a lasting shift in how the British perceive the U.S. as a destination. In March, France showed signs of pulling back from the U.S. with total travel down 8% year over year. By April, this trend didn't slow, it accelerated. Total arrivals to the U.S. dropped 12.2%, with both leisure and business travel falling sharply. Business visits, which had risen slightly in March, fell 13.6%, According to the BBC, some American tourists in Paris are covering logos, hiding U.S. flag pins, or wearing Canadian badges to avoid attention. One U.S. visitor said, "We're sick about it," after taping over a flag on his cap. If Americans feel uneasy in Paris, imagine how the French feel about traveling to the U.S. A recent poll found 73% of French citizens no longer view the U.S. as an ally. Sales of U.S. travel guidebooks dropped 25%, while guides for Canada and other destinations surged. A tourism expert noted, "The French don't want to spend their money in the U.S." This disillusionment stems not just from tariff policies, but from America's treatment of allies, from Ukraine to Canada. Former French President François Hollande stated bluntly, "The American people remain our friend, but Trump is no longer our ally." France's retreat isn't just a knee-jerk reaction, it's a profound shift reflecting a loss of trust in America's image. As the French choose other destinations, the question is whether the U.S. can regain their confidence anytime soon. Nominally, Germany seems to be returning to the U.S. In April, total arrivals from Germany rose nearly 15%, with leisure travel surging over 23%. But the broader picture is far less simple. In March, Germany recorded one of the steepest declines among major travel partners, with total visitors down 28% and tourism dropping 36%. Business travel, which had risen slightly in March, collapsed in April, falling 23.5%. No fundamental changes explain this recovery. In fact, things have worsened. This spring, multiple German travelers were detained at U.S. borders, from a 19-year-old strip-searched in Hawaii to a Berlin tattoo artist jailed for 6 weeks while visiting a friend. These incidents shocked the German public, shattering trust in America's hospitality. Germany's foreign ministry issued a travel advisory, stressing that even valid visas don't guarantee entry. The foreign minister called the treatment of German citizens utterly unacceptable. Germany's retreat extends beyond travel. A national poll found 94% of Germans would never buy a Tesla, reflecting a boycott of U.S. brands. Airfares from Germany to California, a favorite destination, have halved due to falling demand. Germany's return is superficial. Beneath it, trust in the U.S. is eroding deeply. From afar, travel data from Australia to the U.S. seems stable. In April, visitor numbers rose just 1% year-over-year. Leisure travel edged up slightly, but business travel fell over 7%, and total visits remained far below pre-pandemic levels. This isn't a return, it's a meaningful pause. Flight Centre, Australia's largest travel agency, reported a 16% drop in leisure travel to the U.S. in April, with business trips down 7%. The CEO called it a significant downturn. A national poll provides context. The U.S. fell from the 5th to the 7th most popular international destination for Australians. Only 6% plan to visit, down from 8% last year. The Australian government updated U.S. travel warnings 3 times since April, highlighting strict border controls, electronic device checks, and the need to carry ID at all times, even on domestic flights. Some LGBTQIA+ travelers memorize lawyer contacts and wipe phone data before boarding. This isn't outright rejection, but a profound hesitation. The dream of visiting America persists, but for many Australians, it's being kept at a safe distance. This pause raises the question, can the U.S. regain its appeal for Australian travelers, or will this hesitation become a lasting trend? At first glance, Denmark seems to be returning to the U.S. In April, visitor numbers rose nearly 10% year-over-year, driven by a rebound in leisure travel. But just a month earlier, total travel had collapsed by 34%, and tourism dropped nearly 45%. Even now, the trend remains unsteady. Business travel, which grew in March, plummeted 29.1% in April. Student travel continues to decline, signaling a lack of confidence in the U.S. as a destination. This isn't a full retreat, but it's far from a commitment. The tension goes beyond numbers. In May, Denmark summoned the top U.S. diplomat in Copenhagen after reports that Washington was monitoring Greenland's independence movement, an issue deeply tied to Danish national identity. Denmark's foreign minister called it very worrying, stating, "You cannot spy on a friend." This distrust is seeping into personal decisions, from consumer choices to travel plans. Carlsberg, which distributes Coca-Cola in Denmark, reported falling Coke sales due to a consumer boycott of U.S. brands, fueled by tariffs and actions like the attempted Greenland takeover. For many Danes, the idea of traveling to the U.S. is losing its allure. The relationship between Denmark and the U.S. hasn't fully broken, but it's more fragile than ever. Can this return be sustained, or will Denmark continue to keep its distance? Travel from Sweden to the U.S. rebounded in April, with total visitors up 21.6% year-over-year, led by leisure travel rising over 22%. But this recovery follows one of the steepest declines in March, when total arrivals dropped nearly 17% and tourism fell 25.6%. Not all travel is rebounding. Business travel, which had risen in March, plummeted 22% in April. Student travel remains stagnant. For a nation known for global curiosity and commitment to cultural exchange, these shifts are particularly striking. For many Swedes, hesitation about traveling to the U.S. isn't about logistics or cost. It's rooted in principle and values. A recent YouGov poll found 63% of Swedes hold a negative view of the U.S., tied to political issues, border treatment, and diverging social values. Some Swedish companies have quietly postponed U.S. business trips, while individual travelers are rethinking their plans. Public discussions in Sweden are beginning to reflect a deeper discomfort with America's current image. For Swedes, travel is more than sightseeing. It's a form of cultural exchange, a way to connect and learn. In 2025, the U.S. seems out of step with this spirit. This isn't an outright protest, but a meaningful pause driven by conscience and disillusionment. Will Sweden rediscover its trust in the U.S., or will this pause endure? Through the stories of these 7 countries, we see a stark divide in how the world is responding to the U.S. Some nations, like the UK and Sweden, are returning, but with caution and reservation. Others, like Canada and France, are retreating with conviction, choosing destinations like Mexico or Canada instead. But one trend stands out across the board. Business travel, a symbol of economic confidence and long-term connection, is declining sharply, even as leisure travel shows signs of recovery. This trend reveals something deeper, not just about specific policies like tariffs or border controls, but about how people feel when they consider visiting the U.S. in 2025. American tourism is no longer just about numbers on a chart or hotel bookings. It's a story of sentiment, of trust, and of how the world views a nation once seen as the epitome of the global dream. As Canada shifts to Mexico, as France and Germany hesitate due to lost trust, as Sweden pauses for principle, we see that the issue isn't just about visas or flights, it's a fracture in trust. When trust breaks, recovery can't be measured by economic metrics or visitor counts. It's measured in time, in the effort to rebuild lost connections. Can the U.S. reclaim its place as a global destination, or will this divide shape a new future where the world views America with distance? The answer will unfold in the months ahead, as each nation decides whether the U.S. remains a place worth visiting.